wanted to share with you a little bit of the reasons for why I think I'm incredibly blessed to have been born a woman in Iceland. It is probably the best place to be a woman. And at least according to the World Economic Forum, we rank first in the world in terms of closing our gender gap. And I think we owe this to an incredible work of women who came before me. But I hope we will make further progress by working more with incredible men who are increasingly starting to understand the value of this issue. When I was only 7, on October 24th in 1975, women in Iceland took the day off. It was called the Women's Strike. Whether they worked at home or held professional positions, they did not work that day. And they brought the country to its knees. Nothing worked in Iceland that day because nothing works if women are not working. And they started a movement that 5 years later brought us the first democratically elected female president, a single mom who appeared there the morning after being elected with her daughter. And at the age of 11, I probably, along with all the girls my age and older than me, thought for a moment, maybe I want to be a president.
It had a profound effect on me because I was 7 years old when women in Iceland took the day off. And it happened to be my mom's birthday. And so this day, women did not work. And then the value and the economic and societal importance of women became so obvious. Banks couldn't even open because they didn't have enough employees to work. And this day really started the women's movement, the modern women's movement in Iceland. And 5 years later, we were the first to elect a female president. And a few years later, we were the first to start an all-female political party. So women, with their initiative, really changed the face of politics and our society permanently.
This summer in Iceland, we are actually celebrating the 100th anniversary of women's right to vote. And to honor that occasion, we are actually bringing together men and women who are change catalysts around the world, from Europe and from the US, to come to Iceland to participate in a global dialogue about closing the gender gap. We want to share the best practices that we have in Iceland, but we also want to learn from others who are moving this dialogue forward, because progress benefits all of us. Yet better performance on all of those measures is dependent upon us tapping into the economic power and potential of women. Their human capital, their financial capital, their social capital, and their emotional capital.
About emotional capital, because I think there is so much that is overlooked when you look at an organization. I'll give you an example. We often, when we assess the value of an organization, we look at hard assets and their revenues and everything, but we don't always look at the softer things that are harder to measure, like the culture of the organization and what kind of behaviors the culture supports, or how great people feel at working there, and how likely you are therefore to attract or retain the best people to work there. So these are some of the things that I'm always concerned about as an investor. What is the emotional capital of the company? But I also think it has to do with what you bring to the table. So all of us have human capital to bring, and that's basically our education, our experiences, and who we are. And then we all have social capital. That's our networks and who we know and what we bring. An intellectual capital, I could go on like that, and sometimes as an investor or as people, we also have financial capital. But what we are afraid to talk about is our emotional capital, which can be our motivations, our passions, because if you're working at any organization and you work from a place of purpose and a place of passion, you are going to be so much more engaged and so much more powerful at making things happen.
In my career as a business leader, as an entrepreneur, as a board director and investor, and as a change catalyst, I am indeed concerned about the economic bottom line. So this data convinced me more than a decade ago. And I was so convinced by the data that I saw no need for supporting gender quotas for the boardroom. I believed, naively, that those in positions of power and influence would be rational economic men or women, in a few cases that's the case, and they would simply do what's best for the company and its shareholders. I changed my mind. As the CEO of the Iceland Chamber of Commerce, and Iceland experienced a mini economic crisis in 2006, my experience from going through that, along with all the evidence that I had seen, convinced me that the benefits of diversity in the boardroom far outweigh the potential costs, which I think are only a potential backlash against women being there, not for a good reason. I believe the benefits are so strong that we cannot wait 40 or 80 years to enjoy such benefits. But that is the estimated time frame it will take at the current rate for gender balance to happen in the boardroom.
The Institute aren't in favour of quotas, no.
I just wanted to let you know that, because those of you who don't know that there was a big compromise there and a fudge. So the Institute of Directors, despite all the overwhelming evidence you're just hearing on the platform today, came out in favour against quotas. So you might want to feed that back or tweet it out or just call them out on it. Because personally I think it's a disgrace.
There is a social revolution and a demographic revolution going on now. Companies that don't embrace diversity, they won't be around. But it takes time for people to embrace change. And it's both a personal change, it's an organizational change, and it's a societal change. So that's why the compassion piece is also important. And you need to find men who can talk from their own skin. And what does that mean? Well, if you've paid any attention to the conversation going on about the financial markets, then you know that if you're a former chairman or a CEO of a major bank, this is a very masculine sector, you're absolutely right, you will say that there are problems in that sector. But if you still belong to the executive suite or the non-executive suite of those institutions, you say there's nothing wrong and everything is better.
It's people who make money, it's not Excel spreadsheets. So, you know, a lot of financial people think that's where you make the money, but it's people who make and lose money. It comes down to people.
We also embraced straight talking, which to us combined our commitment to telling the truth to each other and to our clients, as well as our commitment to speaking simple language, as throwing around big and complicated financial language is rarely of help to anything but perhaps the ego of the person doing so. As investors and as a company, we also embrace the value of emotional capital. And we were as diligent in doing what we call emotional due diligence on our investments as we were in doing financial due diligence. At the end of the day, it is people who either make or break your business and your returns. And people are not nearly as rational in their behaviors as they think they are. Or we would have, for a long time now, seen gender balance in the boardrooms, as it certainly delivers to the bottom line and then some. So armed with these principles, we survived the eye of the storm intact. Meanwhile, Iceland's entire financial sector collapsed. I don't want to be dismissive of good timing and luck, but I firmly believe it was mostly about a talented team working on the back of principles that make common sense. Only at the time, such sense was not all that common.
I think sameness is a very dangerous team makeup, because a team that thinks the same and looks at issues in the same way because they come from the same gender, same educational background, same social background, even same age. I don't think that people can ever look at issues in the way that they need to be looked at when teams look like that. So do I think that it would have been better or is better if we have greater gender balance in the financial sector? There's no question about it. Women bring very different things to the table that really matter. Their attitude towards risk is different from most men. Their attitude, their leadership abilities are different from men, and those leadership qualities women typically embrace seem to be very well fitting to the realities we live with today, and their moral and ethical attitudes seem to be different. All of this we know from research. So I just think these are all things that we need around the boardroom table, in the financial sector, and in business. And I think we do better business if we have that diversity instead of the sameness that we observe across most of the world.